everybody. I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about ending the Fed. And I've touched on this topic of the Federal Reserve, central bank, and all that before. And I've mentioned that we don't even know who these people are, that own this central bank. And I always get comments back to me talking about the Rothschilds and J.P. Morgan Chase and all this. I get that. That's the Federal Reserve. When we think about this central bank and our Federal Reserve, we have to realize that the Federal Reserve is just a branch. Think about it like an octopus. The Federal Reserve is the tip of one tentacle. There is a central bank in Europe somewhere. I don't know if it's in Brussels or wherever, but there is a main central bank, and they build these branches and institute these branches into governments around the world, and that's how they control governments. All right. Now that main central bank, we have no idea who owns it, who runs it. There's no telling. We don't know their names. We've never heard their names. We probably never will hear their names. They control governments like we control, pieces on a chessboard. I'm not exaggerating. This is just the world we live in. Honestly, we don't even know if they're human. They could be lizards or aliens. We have no idea. And that is this super elite, what we think of our elites, the J.P. Morgan Chases, the Rothschilds, and the super rich corporate billionaires, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and they're nothing compared to this central bank. Whoever owns this central bank is in control of 90% of the money in the world. Literally, maybe more. Just imagine being able to just manifest unimaginable amounts of money just out of the ether, just because you want to. And not that you've done anything to deserve it. You haven't worked for it. You can just manifest it out of the ether. You can make up numbers, boobalillions. I want 24 boobalillions of dollars, right? That's why I say, when you hear me say that money is meaningless to them, it's just all the meaning that money has is we give it. We give that meaning to the money to get our iPhones and our cars and all the stuff we want in this life. That's what gives the money meaning. To them, it's meaningless. They don't have a wallet and go around spending money and, shop online or go to Walmart or anything. They don't even live like that. They're completely separate from us. They think they're above us, and they control our governments, and they look at Western civilization. You know what I mean? They're moving civilizations and manipulating entire cultures with this shit. So that's why ending the Fed is so important, because America rejected this Federal Reserve several times since its founding. Since 1776, we've rejected this Federal Reserve several times. This is a generational thing. That's why I believe kind of that whoever's at that very top is long-lived. I kind of have this feeling that they're long-lived, because if you passed it down from generation to generation, one of them youngsters would screw it up. Somebody would die, early, get in a car wreck or something, and something would happen to just throw a monkey wrench in the whole plan if it was generational. So, I don't know. I just kind of have a feeling that whoever it is, whether they be aliens, human beings, or lizards or whatever, that they are long-lived. So this plan is enacted throughout decades and generations rather than, a couple years. And they learn, okay? That's why they pick away at our rights a little bit at a time. They know, they learned from 1776 that if they pick too much, if they take too many of our rights at one time, it will force everyone together and everyone will stand up together and there would be a revolution. They don't want revolutions, so they pick away at our rights. A lot of people don't know it was very close to being a revolution during the Great Depression. Okay? So they're wary of completely collapsing our economy overnight like that. They don't. Now, they have the power to. They are in complete control of our economy. If you doubt that, then you just need to do a little research and do a little reading, because they devalue our dollar and then they raise our interest rates to compensate for that. They never suffer any consequences of this stuff. It's always us. We get inflation from our dollar being worthless because we funded all these foreign wars and wasted all this money on all this bullshit. And how do they fix it? They raise our interest rates to stabilize shit. And then we're supposed to believe that is for our own good, raising our interest rates. That's going to help. That's going to fix everything. Make us pay more in interest rates. And it's just fake. Interest rates are just fake ass. What is that? It's fake. It's just more money we're giving to the bank. So, anyway, through this, everything is manipulated through this central bank. All right? This bank, our Federal Reserve, the one branch of this central banking system, lends money to our government. Instead of our government just making its own sovereign money like it did for the first almost 200 years in existence, the central bank got instituted, and then it started lending the money at interest. And who's responsible for paying back the interest? The taxpayers. Us. There's no need for it. It's completely unnecessary, but we have it. That's the situation we find ourselves in. Okay. So, not only that, but this central banking system has these just huge investment companies called BlackRock and Vanguard, and there's another one, I think, and they just scoop up once a company like Microsoft or whoever gets big enough, then BlackRock or Vanguard will go in and just scoop up, almost 50%, sometimes more, of their stock. So now they control that company through the stock market. That's why you hear me preach against the stock market. It's just a bullshit means of manipulation. So then through the stock market and manipulation, they can control these companies to lobby our politicians. So they get these laws enacted and all this different stuff. Foreign policy is affected through this lobbying and all this, right? And then they also they'll okay the money for all these big projects, like all this war over there in Eastern Europe. They'll just give them, you want 90 billion? Okay. And it's just a laundering scheme. They launder it over there, and the Democratic Party or whatever politicians are involved in that, they send back their cut, right? Now, this president over there in Eastern Europe, he's just filthy rich now over this. Just filthy rich. And his brother even is filthy rich, from what I understand. They're just getting filthy rich over there while their people are dying in this war. And our government, people in our government's getting filthy rich over this. So with that currency, with that money, they control everything. They control the media. They own all the stock in, not all, but they own a big chunk of stock in CNN, MSNBC, Fox, you know what I mean? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. They own the biggest part of the stock in all these companies. And it's just because that the people that fund these investment companies, they can just manifest the money. They just manifest whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter. You need $3 trillion to invest this month. Well, here, just take 5, whatever. Just, get it done. I don't care. Leave me alone. So then they go out and with all this stuff that's just manifested out of the ether, they dump it into the stock market to control these companies. And that manifesting all of that money devalues our currency. All this money that they keep manifesting for war and for investing in the stock market through these Vanguard and BlackRock and shit like that, for purchasing other land, for just all kinds of craziness, insanity, all these DEI projects and all this stuff, that devalues our currency. So the more of a currency that's out there, the less value it has, the less buying power it has. And that's how they're crippling our country. They're taking away our economic strength, which has always been a big part of the America, what we are, our military might and our economic power. That's why all these companies want to come over here to sell their goods to us. That's why the government should tariff them, right? And promote making the product in America. If you look back through, what was the reason to send all our manufacturing overseas to China, to start shipping all of our jobs overseas? There's no way anyone can make me believe that makes any sense for America, the America that I live in, the America that's we the people. Now, to explain this, I read an article about Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid actually resisted that because Walmart was telling them to send their manufacturing overseas to China. And Rubbermaid said, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep making our stuff here, and that's the way it's going to be. Well, Walmart said, all right, but if you don't ship your shit to China and get those prices down, then we're going to go with someone else. And when you have a company that's that big, when you have a monopoly like Walmart and they threaten to stop selling your shit, then your business just goes away, right? You're done. If Walmart stops selling your shit, you're done. So Rubbermaid was literally forced to send their shit overseas or just give up. Just quit making Rubbermaid products. And that's the situation that we're in, where these, through investments, the powers that be, the central bank, forces these companies to send their manufacturing overseas, costing us U.S. citizens our jobs, pulling in all these, paying off all these politicians to allow all these illegal immigrants over here to take away these jobs from Americans, both at the upper tier of jobs and at the bottom, right? Now, you can't even get that job if you wanted to pick fruit or whatever. And this is not, and it's all the way through. Everybody wants to point to the menial labor jobs, right? The lawn care and the fruit picking and shit like that. But I know for a fact here in Central Florida, we're flooded with illegals who are doing, building houses and shit in masonry, carpentry, all these trades. And they'll work for $10, $12 an hour, where an American citizen couldn't afford to do that. You just couldn't afford to, because these guys can do that because they're literally living 15 people in a trailer, and they all just pay $50 each in rent every month, right? Or $100, whatever it is. But so they can afford to go work for $10, $12 an hour. And then the American tradesman cannot compete with that. You can't. I cannot live on $10 an hour. It's impossible. not and live like an American. And the thing is, we don't have to make that choice. We don't have to. We don't have to choose, between living 12 people, 15 people in a trailer or, being homeless or whatever. We don't have to. That is all done to us. Those companies can pay a living wage and still make plenty of money. They did it for years and they can do it again. You're not going to convince me that they have to import illegal immigrants to take our jobs, or these companies would just collapse. They just go away. I used to walk down the street and I'd see kids, teenagers, mowing lawns. That's what they do on the weekends to make a few bucks. You don't see that anymore. Why? Because illegal immigrants are over here doing it. And now they've got it so cheap to mow a lawn that it doesn't make sense for it's just easier for a person, you know what I mean, a homeowner, to just have Mexicans do it or whatever, or Panamanians or whatever. Not picking on Mexicans, just some illegal immigrant do it. And now our kids have been brainwashed through the internet and social media to believe that that's beneath them now. Picking fruit, picking vegetables and mowing lawns and stuff, that's beneath them. They'll now not making an OnlyFans account and shaking their ass and doing all kinds of nasty stuff for everybody to see. That's not beneath them. That's perfectly okay. Right? This kind of stuff, that's a degradation of society, and it's an attack on our culture, and it comes from this federal bank. All of it. You follow the money, and all of the money goes back up to this federal bank. That's why when you see this thing in the Fed, that would be the best thing, not only for America, but for Western civilization, because they don't call it the Federal Reserve, but there is a Federal Reserve in Australia, in Canada, in France, in Germany. Every one of these countries has a privately owned central bank, a branch of it. And their government is controlled through that. Their media, their social media, their corporate structure is controlled through that. Everything is controlled through that bank. And it's just like a river. The money flows down through there, and whatever they say goes because of it. And everything I've said here just takes a few minutes to look up. And I'm very hopeful for Trump. He's not going to be able to end the Fed. Number one, I honestly believe that Lincoln and Kennedy both, that's why they died. Because they were Lincoln did. That's where we get greenbacks, because he started printing his own money and he just did away with the Fed. Kennedy, I think he was about to do that, and they found out. That's my opinion. That's my theory on the thing. So Trump, I don't think Trump can just go in and end the Fed, but I think he can start. He can start the process. He can secure our borders. He can stop the division. He can enact laws that give us our freedom back, give us our prosperity back, and then down the line somewhere, we can end the Fed. Kick them the hell out of our country and take control of our destinies and take control of our lives and take control of our country. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can click on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can hop over to Redbubble and check out the stuff we have over there. We got some pretty cool stuff, Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But feel free to go check that out if you're interested. I'll leave that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us in the emails over on the channel page. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.